Good evening and welcome to the virtual board meeting of the Board of School Directors of the School District of Springfield Township. And we're going to have a reading of the mission statement. The mission of the School District of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students as learners and citizens who are high achieving, resilient, and responsible in a changing global community. Mr. Neil DeFranco will also read a statement from the board on racism.
Thank you, Karen. As the Board of School Directors, we stand behind and reaffirm our equity statement adopted at the start of the 2019-2020 school year. Recognizing the diversity of our community, the School District of Springfield Township is committed to and accountable for advancing equity and excellence for all of our students. We in the School District of Springfield Township endeavor to provide equitable opportunities for high-level, meaningful, and engaging learning experiences for each and every student, regardless of racial, ethnic background, economic condition, or other dimension of identity or difference. We recognize that in order to achieve educational equity, we must apply principles of fairness and justice in the allocation of resources and work toward the elimination of institutional barriers to access and opportunity. We aim to ensure that funding policies, practices, and initiatives will enable every student to receive what they need to maximize their success. In order to foster growth toward equity, we must engage in continuous reflection and ongoing measurement of our efforts. While we do not believe it is our place to issue statements in response to comments made by other elected officials, we do believe that it is important for us to make a strong statement condemning all racism and cruel actions that have taken the lives of people of color. Regardless of our politics, it is our responsibility as human beings to speak out against discriminatory and racist actions in any form. The events of recent weeks have affected all of us deeply. Emotions are high and people are reactive. Many in our community are in pain, but not necessarily for the same reasons. Racism is a human issue. It is systemic and pervasive and affects our children and our community. Our hearts go out to all who have been affected by these events. We as a board recognize that Black lives matter. We recognize that Black lives are the lives being threatened and Black lives are the lives being taken. Racial inequities harm our children. Evidence shows that Black students are more likely to be suspended, more likely to be arrested at school, and implicit bias towards Black children is evident as early as preschool. Racism runs counter to our district's mission and will not be tolerated in our schools or our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeFranco. Can we have roll call, Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard. He's here, is he not?
He is
Yep.
here. He may be muted.
Can't hear you, Jeff. He's here. He's raising his hands, but not speaking. I can see him.
We'll count that.
Thank you.
Mr. DeFranco.
Here.
Dr. Etlin.
Here.
Ms. Jordan.
Here.
Mr. Lapidus.
Here.
Mr. Needleman.
Here.
Ms. Sarsfield.
Here.
Ms. Lipinski.
Here.
Dr. Karatusky.
Here. Are there any public comments on agenda items?
So if any of the attendees have agenda items or want to speak, you can raise your hand and we'll allow you into the meeting. I do not see any hands raised in the attendee list.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes, May 5th, 2020, interim Zoom meeting, board minutes Q, and May 19th, 2020, regular Zoom meeting, board minutes R. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Okay,
Who-
any it was
Who
Dr.
was the
Etlin, Dr. Etlin, and Kat Sarsfield. Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
The motion has been read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion carries.
Approval of Treasurer's Report, Treasurer's Report J. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second. Second.
Okay, that was Ms. Lipinski and Dr. Etlin. Okay, any comments or questions? All right, Mr. King?
Motion has been read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion carries.
All right, we'll have our recognitions and awards. Dr. Hacker?
Thank you, Dr. Tarateski. Well, it certainly is an extraordinary pleasure, first of all, to be able to see so many people kind of in person, we'll call it. It's wonderful to see so many members of our staff who could be with us this evening in order to get some very well-deserved recognition on some really amazing careers here in the school district of Springfield Township. So in order to be able to honor each one of our retirees this year, I've asked either the head of their department or their building principal to say a few brief remarks about each one of you. So we are going to go through every single one of you because you all deserve it. It's the least that we can do to honor you for the time and devotion you've given to our students. So we're going to start with transportation. I see Dave Johnston is here, and Nate Bray, I'm going to ask you to begin if you don't mind.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker. So this evening, we're going to be talking about two of the members of the Transportation Department. We've got two retirees this year, the first one being Dave Johnston. So Dave joined our Transportation Department in 2008 after retiring from the telecommunications industry. During 12 years with the district, he's driven a number of different routes, always able to lean on his prior professional experience, which gave him an underlying knowledge of the Delaware Valley area. Because of this, during my time working with Dave, I've never worried about sudden changes to where we would need to be sending him. He was always able to get there. His ability to work well within the dynamic environment of school transportation has been a great asset to the district. He's always been willing to contribute time and ideas for the betterment of the department, offering suggestions to help maintain efficiencies in daily operations, and offering assistance in any way that he could help further our goals. Thank you, Dave, for your time, dedication, and professionalism. We'll miss your contributions to our team, and we wish you the best in your retirement.
Congratulations, Dave.
I want to thank you. It's, as I wrote to Emily originally, I started working when I was age 11, mowing lawns. Actually, I'm a graduate of Springfield High School in 1968. I started work with Bell, PA, worked there for 40 years through Bell Atlantic, through Verizon. Retired, I got all the honeydew jobs done. Took me 6 months, got them out of the way, and she says, do something. So I guess I've been driving a bus for about 12 years. But you hit 70 and you go, is enough, you know? So it's, I still feel good. I don't feel like I'm 70. So.
Well, then it's time for you to go enjoy yourself after everything you've done in a very varied but stellar career. And for the rest of the retirees listening in, if you'd like to, you can now drive a school bus now that you've retired from your first job, just like Dave has done. So congratulations, Dave. Stay healthy so you can enjoy retirement.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Nate, I didn't see, is John Wright here this evening?
He did want to be. I didn't see him on the list, so I'm not sure if he's here or not. But if you'd like, I can quick mention a couple
Please.
words.
Yes,
Absolutely.
please.
So John Wright is our other retiree this year. He actually retired from our department in December, but he joined our team originally in 2009. Throughout his time as a school bus driver, he brought a friendly and cheerful attitude into his bus, and that attitude always influenced both his ridership and his coworkers alike. You could always count on being in a good mood after interacting with John. Since I've been with Springfield Township, John has always had routes that could be considered challenging to maintain a proper schedule because of the number of places they needed to go and how far apart some of those places were. He's always been able to navigate those challenges to the satisfaction of the families that he served. His positive attitude and commitment towards his position allowed him to effortlessly and consistently perform well in what can be a challenging and stressful environment based on many factors that are not within a driver's control. John, thank you for all of your time and all of the smiles that you brought with you to work. We'll miss seeing you on a daily basis and wish you all of the very best in your retirement.
Nate, thank you for those lovely remarks for both Dave and John. We certainly wish John well and congratulate him as well. And just a note about all of our bus drivers, they are the ones that our children encounter first thing in the morning and last thing at the end of the day. So it's really up to them to kind of set the tone on what that day is going to look like. It's a very huge task, and we're greatly appreciative of everything that they do to help keep our kids safe while they're traveling in the bus to and from school. Next up, we have Craig Thorn, and I know that Tony Mancuso is here this evening, so we're going to recognize Tony. Nate, thanks again. Craig is now up to recognize Tony.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker, and good evening, everybody. I'd like to say a few words about Mr. Tony Mancuso. He was a valuable member of our team for many years, and I'm glad he's here so we can share a few words with him. Good evening, Tony. So again, Mr. Mancuso, he has been with the district since 2014. It seems like just yesterday that he started. Time flies. He brought with him all the skills and knowledge that you would expect of a master craftsman in the electrical field. He consistently helped me out with many difficult electrical problems over the years, and I've always valued his opinion and his advice. If we couldn't figure something out, Tony had many contacts in the electrical field that he could call to assist us. It was a great help, a great value to the district to have Tony's assets right at hand. Tony's always had an eye for safety and doing things the right way. He never compromised safety just to get a job done. He never compromised with record keeping. Every time we completed a project or purchased new equipment, Tony would ensure everything was properly documented on the way. Again, a great help to me and the department as well. Tony was also a key player in our construction projects. He was there reviewing electrical documents, checking on specifications, and was always out in the field to make sure that the contractor was doing the right thing and everything was being done correctly. He attended many meetings and offered great advice to protect the district interests. Tony's always conducted himself with professionalism and a caring attitude. He always treated the administrators and staff with great respect. He will be greatly missed here at the district. A sincere thank you to you, Tony. It has been a pleasure to work with you.
Likewise, boss. I'd just like to say thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to come work there after my construction career. I always tried to make a difference. I hope I did. 6 years flew by. It was
Tony,
the first time I ever worked not in a construction atmosphere. So it was a little bit to get used to, but it was great. It was a good 6 years. I'm glad I finished out still doing what I like to do. But it was time.
well, congratulations, Tony. There's no expertise like that of a master electrician. because God forbid you guys make a mistake, we're all in trouble.
Yeah,
And
right.
we are so lucky to have had you and the technical skill that you brought to the work that you did. I know how much Craig has always valued having you as a part of his team, as did all of the rest of us. So thank you so much. And now it's time for you as well to relax and enjoy yourself.
Thanks, Doc. Thanks.
Congratulations.
And Craig knows that I'm available. I have records that I can still refer back to. There was none of that when I started. I was thrown into the snake pit, so to speak. So, what I learned through the years, was try to keep records. I never thought I would be forgetting things. Never had to write things down. But last few years, I sort of came to make documents and record things. And so I'll be available.
Well, it's that attention to detail that really makes you special. So thanks again, Tony.
Thanks, Doc. Take care. Have a great
Thanks,
summer.
Tony.
And congratulations to you too. You're coming. You're next, right?
Couple more months, but
Yeah,
yes.
okay. It'll fly
Thank you.
by.
Not
Thank
until
you.
December.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Kathy Van Voren. I don't know if Jane White is here with us this evening, but Kathy, we're going to let you say a few words. Is Jane here?
She is. I saw her little face
Wonderful.
when we were on page 2.
Excellent.
All right. So good evening, everyone. I first wanted to honor Jane White. Jane White has been dedicated to the school district of Springfield Township for the last 24 years as a special educator at Enfield Elementary School. She has been a role model for her students, supporting them with patience, sincerity, and most of all, kindness. Her colleagues will definitely miss her straight-faced sense of humor and listening ear for support. Her gentle yet strong presence will be greatly missed here at Enfield. And I know that her colleagues feel the same way, especially moving onto a new building without her. Jane is looking forward to enjoying retirement, traveling, and working in her garden. Most of all, she's looking forward to being a full-time grandmother for her beautiful grandchildren. So Jane, best wishes from your family at Enfield. We wish you much happiness in your retirement. Enjoy every moment.
Thank you.
Jane, congratulations from all of us. You were actually one of 3 Janes that we're honoring this evening. But as Kathy mentioned, you are indeed a very special educator. And I know that in the time that you served as a building rep at Enfield, you always were able to navigate through issues with incredible tact and diplomacy, and served as a wonderful liaison between the staff and administration. So I want to thank you for all of those efforts, as well as your caring demeanor with all of the children at Enfield. It takes a lot of special people to work with children at that age, and you're certainly one of them. So we wish you all the best. Stay healthy and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Dr. McLaurin, who's going to recognize.
Dr. Hacker, I have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jane Allison, the other
Yes.
Jane at Enfield. I
Other
apologize,
Jane.
Jane. Yes.
Yes, and I know Jane is here.
Jane is here. We saw Jane and heard Jane in the very beginning.
Yes. Where to start with Jane Allison? Jane has been dedicated. She is a 23-year educator for our school district. She was a technology teacher over the years, spanning from the high school, middle school, and lucky for us, Enfield school community. From coding activities to robotics, Jane brought excitement into the classroom. She was caring and kind to her students, and they loved her for it, especially when she made them say good morning every day when they came in the front door. What many people don't know about Jane is that although she is seemingly an introvert, she is actually quite active and involved in many things. So just to give you a quick idea, Jane is a talented singer with the Philadelphia Singers Chorale. She's a member of a semi-professional Renaissance recorder ensemble. She enjoys hiking and riding horses. Jane is a women's activist. She loves to travel, is a wonderful artist, and her favorite holiday is Halloween. She works tirelessly on the perfect costume to wear to school. So we have already invited her back next year since she had an extra costume in preparation to be a year ahead. So Jane, your friends at Enfield will miss you, and hearing about your pup Louie. And we wish you the best of luck moving forward into your next endeavor, and look forward to having your ensemble back at Enfield next spring for another spectacular performance.
Well, thank you so much. That was really lovely. And I just want to thank everybody for the district, the opportunity to work here. I came here after working in business, although my mother always wanted me to be a teacher. I came later in life and really found it to be my niche, and have enjoyed working in all the schools in the district, which I think is kind of unusual. And it's just been, it flew by, really, and I can hardly believe it. Now, I don't think, though, that I'm going to be signing up for the school bus driver thing. I don't think my feet will reach the pedals. Especially if you raise the seat up. That'll be the end of that. But thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Jane, it looks like you need a lot of time in order to be able to take part in all of the endeavors that Kathy mentioned that you take so much pleasure in. So we hope you have lots of years to enjoy all of those things. From my personal perspective, because I know that you have worked in a lot of other schools in the district, you really did find your niche when you landed at Enfield with those little guys.
I did, much to my surprise.
Well, we wish you all the best, and as I said, many, many years to enjoy all the wonderful activities in which you participate.
And let's hope we can get out of the house to do them.
To do them, exactly. Yeah. That's for sure. All right, thank you, Jane and Jane. Best of luck to you both. And now we'll move on to Dr. McLaurin and Patti Nolan.
Thank you. Patti Nolan. Boy. Patti, I want you to know we will miss you. On behalf of our staff and students, we want to thank you for your 31 years of service in our school district. Since 1989, you have touched the many lives of students by providing a calm, understanding, supportive nurturing that was needed for them to be their best, not only as learners, but as contributors to our society. You offered our middle school students this support as a 5th grade special education teacher, through your role as the SMS Express Advisor, which was a newspaper at that time, and as an SMS Tutor Center Advisor. For our Erdenheim students, who we feel truly felt your love and support, you offered this unwavering care as a 4th grade teacher and as a Reading Olympics advisor. And something I want the group to know tonight, prior to this meeting, I understand that Mrs. Nolan took time out of her day to visit every single student in her classroom to deliver personal awards in their personal flavor of water ice. The work does not stop up until this point. And so I know that our students and families so appreciate you and will all miss you. In addition to supporting the students at Springfield Township over the past 31 years, you have also provided that same calm, yet caring and encouraging support to the many teachers and support staff you have interacted with throughout the years in your role as a team leader. As a school community, we will miss your bright smile as well as the sunshine you help to place on others through your role as our sunshine coordinator when you're planning all of those amazing coordinated events for everyone to celebrate all the amazing things in their lives. We're going to miss that so much. And on this day, we hope that you feel that same love, care, and support that you offered so many through the years. We want to congratulate you on your retirement, and we want you to know that we're going to miss you. And we also want you to know that our doors are always open for you to come back and visit, and we hope you take us up on that offer. We love you and we miss you. Congratulations.
Thank you. That was really very sweet. So, hello, Springfield community. I just want to thank you for the wonderful opportunity of allowing me to teach your children. Driving around today, I just realized how much I'm going to miss the community. So I'm hoping to find some way to stay within Springfield doing something, whether it's Meals on Wheels or probably not substitute teaching, but something. But I've really enjoyed my time there. The children are wonderful. I even had the opportunity to work with Gordon Lapidus and Ryan Needleman, two really exemplary kids, students. But anyway, thank you. I wish my fellow retirees and Dr. Hacker a wonderful retirement as well. And maybe one day we can all get together and have a glass of bubbly or something. Thanks again.
I'm
Okay.
in.
Thank you so much.
Patti, it's our pleasure. I mean, you have, as Andre said, you've really been such a mainstay over at Erdenheim with your calming demeanor and presence. And, you know, it's interesting as he was talking about your work with your students, which obviously is, you know, has been so incredible over the years. The first thing that entered my mind was really the second thing that he mentioned, and that is how you've been such a mentor and influence on your staff members at Erdenheim, how they look to you in terms of how they go about the work that they do every day. You're a master at your craft in terms of instruction and teaching, but mostly in terms of your interactions with your students. Others look up to you for that and truly respect you. So we will miss that because that doesn't come along every single day. And so again, we congratulate you, and I'll take that glass of bubbly with you once I'm done.
Sounds good to me. Thanks again.
Okay, Patti. Thank you, Andre. I think that's it for Erdenheim, right?
That is correct.
All right, so we move on to Mr. Fuller, who I believe has 5 retirees, all of whom are here this evening.
I do. I have 5 retirees, and I've started calling them the other class of 2020. So before I talk about anybody specifically, I just want to mention a few things about the class of 2020, and they are the people who get it done. People in the class of 2020 are the get up early and stay late people. They're the what if people. They're the how can I help? What do you need? I'll do it people. These people are the I'm sorry, I'll fix it, we'll get through it together people. They're the let's get it right. What does this kid need? And who do I need to talk to people? In short, this year's graduating class of 2020 are the people that made this middle school the special place that it is. They are the people that make this place the place to be, and we'll miss them all. So that's for everybody. And now for Mr. Stan Fadala. Stan was hired in 2020 and he has a total of 20 years in our school district. Mr. Fadala taught 8th grade at the high school and the middle school and served as the special education coordinator at STMS. Mr. Fadala has a total of 13 educational certificates across all content areas, grade levels, special education, and administration. Stan's a go-to person. He is singularly wonderful with students and parents. He's a reassuring guy, the one who can explain it to you in terms you understand. Stan's the teacher who has you design it, build it, graph it. He's the one who has you do it again, try it one more time, and ultimately explain it to your peers. Stan's a model of the highest levels of professionalism and accountability in himself, his colleagues, and the administration. Stan's easy to talk to, he's easy to get along with, and one whose advocacy is reserved for issues of what's best for kids, what's best for this profession, and the well-being and reassurance of all. Thank you, Stan.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone and the opportunity that I've had. It's been just a wonderful, joyful time spending time with students in the classroom, and I think that's what I'm going to miss the most. I'm really going to miss the kids because that's what it's all about, and that's why I've been doing it 20 years here and 19 years elsewhere for a total of 39 years. So but it is time. It's time to go do some different things and see what else is out there. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Zach.
And we wish you all the best. You're looking quite dapper this evening. We're very impressed. And you've just done a spectacular job, like Zach said, you know, quiet, reassuring, supportive to the kids, helping your department as a special ed coordinator. You've just lent so much to the department. We always knew that we could count on you looking out for the needs of some very special students who needed some very specialized assistance, and you were always there to provide it. So we thank you for that. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay. And now on to Mrs. Grube. Jen Grube was hired in 1986 when I was in 2nd grade. She's taught math over the course of her 33-year career and has served at various times as our student council advisor, the 8th grade team leader, assistant drama director, and field hockey coach. Jen is the embodiment of everything I could ask for in a teacher. She's someone whose standards are high, but who wears her heart on her sleeve. Jen has spent a career in the knowledge that her first primary concern is the care of children. I've seen it over and over again on the 8th grade floor. Jen is an advocate for and believer in kids. Even though the other concerns of her work are secondary, she accomplishes them with an energy and grace that makes her a true leader of her peers and a favorite among her students. Jen, I'll miss you. Thanks for all you have taught me about the place that we call home for all those hours a day, and for teaching me what we all need.
Thank you, Zach, and thank you, all of you. I'm going to try to hold it together, but no promises. I started teaching when I was 12. Oh, I mean 21. You know, it's that number thing. And you know what? It has been a sheer joy for me. All these years, I never thought I'd retire, but the time has come, and I wish you all health and happiness and family time. And I thank you for the opportunity. And I only live 1.5 miles, 2 miles away, so I'll be back. I'll probably still coach. You missed all those years of coaching at the high school. I coached girls tennis, boys tennis, and girls swimming and diving. So I've been a coach for a while. That's still in me. So I'll be back.
And Jen, you're welcome back anytime. You know that you always bring such joy to everything in which you participate. It's always been my pleasure to sit in your classroom, just watch you teach the heck out of mathematics. And every event that you attend, you're always right there at the forefront, leading the kids on in the cheers, in the clapping, in the resounding happiness that they have for whatever is going on. You're always the biggest cheerleader for them and for the rest of the staff at the middle school as well. They're going to surely miss your presence, as will we all, because it is quite the presence to see Jen Grube at all of the events. So we also wish you the best of luck. Take some time to enjoy yourself, but we'll take you up on your offer if you ever want to come back for anything.
Thank you.
Mrs. Jane McNally was hired in 1995 as a support staff nurse. Mrs. McNally became a certified school nurse in our district in 1997 and has served in that role for 23 years. Mrs. McNally has served as our Reading Olympics advisor, but more than anything, Jane McNally is a healer. She's a caregiver whose care extends not only to the occasional stomachache, sore throat, or knocked head, but also the coordination of a system of caregiving that has been district-wide and has touched the life of each student we serve. Jane is a leader among her peers, a voice of reason, and a constant advocate for the welfare of children. Jane is also a healer of the mind, a person whose compassion extends to all students and beyond that to all staff. In addition to providing me with eye drops when I couldn't do it myself and taking my temperature 3 times a day in March of 2020, Jane was also the only faculty member who came to me with words of consolation and encouragement after a moment of personal and professional disappointment that I had last year. Although I didn't know what to say to her then, after she left, she provoked genuine and albeit very, very brief and very, very restrained tears. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure and an honor to work with Springfield students and be part of this community. And all I can say is last Jane out.
Perfect words, Jane. But I just want to take a moment and note that your role is often a challenging one, because for parents, when they get a phone call from the school nurse that there's something going on with their child, that can be a very emotional and trying moment for them until they race over to the school and pick up their child and really see what's going on. And you are that calm and reassuring presence that not only reassures the parents that all will be fine, but you also reassure the kids who don't mind at all coming to your office, even though they may not be in the best condition when they do come. And I want to tell you that extends to every single one of us who's had to come over to your office in order to get that dreaded flu shot. What did Jane do? She provides cookies to everybody to make us all feel better because we're getting a shot in the arm. And that says it all about Jane. She's caring to everyone, adult and child alike, and she's such a calm and reassuring person in that office. Jane, we're certainly going to miss you. Thank you.
Mr. Peter Olshow. Mr. O was hired in 1999 and has been a teacher of ELA, social studies, science, journalism, photography, and civics for 21 years. Mr. O has served at various times as our newspaper advisor, robotics advisor, assembly director, girls tennis coach, faculty manager, and service club sponsor. Mr. O has also become the unofficial district photographer with a presence at many student events. Lots of the photographs you see on our website were taken by Mr. O across the website and other media. Last night, we had the SDMS retirement party via Zoom, and I asked 2 teachers to speak on behalf of Mr. Peter Olshow. And the quote that stuck with me is that Peter is the beating heart of the middle school. Peter is a man whose gentle soul, willingness to take on whatever is necessary of him, and belief that going the extra mile can be done with grace and humility that is not often talked about but often appreciated, defines him. Peter is a student favorite. Having taught almost every student in the middle school over my 3 years there, and one of the defining moments of my short time at the middle school has been at this year's Halloween parade when Mr. O won the costume contest and student chants of "Mr. O, Mr. O" echoed through the gym for what seemed like forever. Peter, I thank you.
Thank you very much for those kind words. I've been fulfilled in my career being a teacher at Springfield Township Middle School and being a part of the Springfield community. Truly, that's how I identified myself. That's who I was. And I'll miss that for sure. I'll miss all of my fellow retirees, Jen, Suzette, Jane, Stan. You've all been good friends, and I'll miss you. And being part of you. The Springfield Township Middle School is a special place, and I know that Mr. Fuller will takes it to heart that he really cares about the middle school too. One of the things that makes me less sad about leaving is I know that under Mr. Fuller's guidance that the school will continue to move forward. The kids will still have an excellent opportunity, and I'm grateful to the whole Springfield community for their impact on my life and for allowing me to share in the lives of so many children. Thank you, everybody.
Peter, we all send you our best and heartiest congratulations. You really have been an indelible part of the fabric of the middle school. As Mr. Fuller mentioned, not only have you taught so many subjects and students, but your presence is so well known and well received at every single event, just like I was saying about Mrs. Grube. And that's because you've given so much of yourself to be able to record those wonderful moments in the lives of the students through your photography. You've taught so many of the students to appreciate photography and to appreciate the beauty in the world around them and how capturing it through a photograph can be so meaningful to them, and to be able to look at the world in a different way through the lens of a camera. So thank you for that, for teaching that important and critical aspect of beauty to the students, and for yourself, capturing it for so many of our students and staff members. We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for your kind words. My love to all of you.
Okay, and last but not least, Mrs. Suzette Wolf, was hired in 1988 when I was in 3rd grade for a total of 32 years in the school district. Although throughout her career, Mrs. Wolf has taught science, ELA, and math. She served as the science coordinator in the middle school and the girls' head soccer coach. Suzette said once at a parent conference that though she might seem a bit scary, she's actually compassionate. And since I heard her say that, I've been looking for signs that it's true, and I've been pleased to say that I've found them. I remember once running to the 8th grade floor after being advised that there might be a fight, only to find Suzette had not only diffused the entire situation, but had also brought one student, who was essentially out of her mind with anger, to a place where she felt accepted and believed. Not only that, but Suzette's seemingly endless reserve of energy transforms her into a powerful force for our school spirit among the faculty in the form of our Blue Crew, and students in countless settings, but chief among them, our annual talent show with her yearly tour de force as our MC. Suzette is a perennial advocate for students and one whose ability to combine frankness and compassion has made her a naturally restorative and effective communicator. Suzette, I'll miss you.
Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Dr. Hacker. It's been my pleasure, and I will miss all of you, but it is time for me too, and I'm really excited for my future, and I'm sure it's going to be wonderful and exciting, and Springfield is in great hands, Zach. You've really done a wonderful job at the middle school, and I'm really proud of you because in the beginning we were, it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah. And, we all came together and we, like the middle school ways, we're a team and you are very strong at that. And I'm happy to see that that's going to be the future of the middle school. So I'm good to go. And so is Jen. So we're good. And Stan and Peter and Jane, it's good. It's time to go and we're safe. And Dr. Hacker, time for you too, and everything's going to be okay when you go too. So,
thanks, Suzette. Those are reassuring words for me too, because I'm nervous about it as well. But you and your fellow retirees are truly the backbone of that building, and I know how much Zach has relied on all of you for your wisdom, your openness, and your honesty in reflecting what's going on and what you are thinking about things. You all deserve a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for that. But Suzette, for you in particular, I can't forget your wonderful science fairs and the presentations that the kids have done in science. I always enjoyed coming in and listening to them and seeing those trifolds and watch the kids explain about their science experiments. That was just absolutely always amazing to me. And certainly, Zach mentioned your work as a soccer coach. Oh my God, the way you prepared those kids for the rigors of being on a soccer team. And as a parent who had a daughter who played soccer for many, many years, I can appreciate the skill and the rigor with which you led that team and helped those girls to really actualize their talents. So you're right, now it's time and now it's your turn to relax. Take your own talents, which you have displayed so admirably, as Zach said at the talent shows, and go on and do great things. Dr. Rittenhouse, I believe you have 3 retirees. I'm not sure if they're all here. I know at least 2 of them are.
I have 4 retirees. Rose Ricci is the 4th.
I forgot Rose, yes.
So it's my honor to speak about those 4 individuals this evening. I hope everybody's doing well. First, Sue Caraba. Sue Caraba has been a health and PE teacher for 18 years at the high school. Sue has held many titles during her tenure at our school, including department chair, pool director, class advisor, coach, English teacher, lifeguard instructor, CPR first aid instructor, and health and PE teacher. No matter what her role has been, she always gives 100%. Sue's laid-back style has helped calm students and allowed them to feel comfortable and secure in all of her classes. And she is beloved by her students. Sue made connections with all her students and faculty, and many sought her out for life advice. Most importantly, Sue's role as an educator, colleague, mentor, and friend will be missed the most. Good luck, Sue. We will miss you. Perhaps most importantly, she taught all 3 of my boys to swim in our pool, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you very much. And it's taught many people. So congratulations.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate your kind words. I'm sitting here with mixed emotions because all my life, all I ever wanted to be was a teacher. So I don't know where I'm going from here, but I know it's time. And as Chuck said, I think I'm going to miss the kids the most because they're the ones that I felt like I reached the most, and not always in the classroom. Sometimes, you know, when they had problems and things like that, when they would come and talk to me and I could steer them in the right direction. And I think that's what I'm going to miss the most.
Never underestimate the mark of a good health and PE teacher for just the reasons that you mentioned, Sue. For many students, it is a buffer from the rigors of the classroom, and it gives students, many students, an opportunity to shine in ways that they might not be able to do in their content areas. And so they come to rely on not only the opportunities that a physical education class provides, but also they rely on the strength and the relationships that they build with their teacher. And that has certainly always been true with you. It's not easy to teach some of the topics that you have to teach in health and to talk about the kinds of skills, because not everybody's good at athletics and sports and phys ed. So it takes a really special individual to help all kinds of children succeed and feel good about themselves because they're making the effort. And Sue, no one does it as well as you do. You've always done a phenomenal job. Your caring for the kids has always shown through, and we're certainly going to miss that. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Sue. Our next retiree is not with us this evening, but I'd still like to speak about him, Michael Drake. And it's difficult to say Michael because he's Mr. Drake to me. I don't think I've ever called him Michael here in my 7 years, out of respect. But Michael Drake, Mr. Drake, has been a math teacher for 16 years at the high school. Michael spent his time at Springfield as a consummate math teacher. He always took the time to connect with the students, helping them to blossom as both mathematicians and as cultured citizens. Michael can always carry on a conversation on any subject if you know him, but his passion is most evident when discussing birds, football, not the American kind, or statistics. This passion resonated with both his students and his peers. Always quick to share an amusing cartoon or mathematical research, Mr. Drake has a gift for keeping people thinking, exactly what an educator should do. He will be impossible to replace and missed dearly by all. Good luck, Michael. We will miss you. And like I said, just personally taught both my boys AP statistics, and my boys love Mr. Drake, and he is really well respected, and they talk to him all the time and email and text, etc., and still stay in touch even a couple years after they graduated. And congratulations, Mr. Drake.
And I just want to add that Michael really has been such a beacon of strength during the past year and the personal trials and tribulations that he has undergone. He's handled his own situation with dignity and with caring, and he made it his mission to come back to school and to do what he loved doing. And Michael and I have developed a personal friendship since a few years ago, and he sends a lot of those cartoons to me as well as commentary on certain political events. And I'm hoping that we can maintain that closeness because he deserves to continue on and to live a life filled with good health so that he can enjoy the years that he has to come. So I'll be in touch certainly with Michael after the meeting. And Chuck, thank you for those lovely words you had to say about him.
Of course. Rose Ricci's not with us this evening. She may have the toughest job in the high school. For 19 years, she has been at the high school front reception desk. So when people would come to speak to me, they'd speak to her first, then to Mrs. Buchanan, and to me. So Rose is the one, when you open the door for 19 years, that's who you would see. And she would, ask you who you were here to see, process you, and then go from there. And she's been a familiar face for many years to all who have entered our building. The staff and students recognized her for a warm smile and greeting as they entered our school. She was responsible for making sure our school's front entrance was safe and secure at all times. She worked with visitors and vendors alike to make sure they knew where to go and who to see when they arrived. She assisted all of our families who needed to attend a conference or just drop off a forgotten lunch or textbook. She got to know everyone on a first-name basis and knew just when to offer help or just listen when somebody's going through some difficult situations. Good luck, Rose. We will miss you, and thank you for keeping us all safe for 19 years.
Absolutely, and I'll just add that I used to always come into the back parking lot and the back entrance into the high school. But once I got to know Rose, she was such a joy in terms of how she greeted me when I would come into the school, that despite the fact that I hate those front steps and I hate climbing them in my high heels, I found myself instead coming into the front entrance just so I could see Rose, because she always greeted me with a personal hello and greeting and conversation. And I found that much more enjoyable, even though I had to climb those awful steps. So we will certainly miss Rose. Her big shoes have been filled by Vito, who now has taken her place. And we're always lucky to have good people who keep our building safe and secure and make it a pleasant entry for whoever comes in.
Absolutely. Our fourth retiree is Christine Citino. Christine has been an English language and English language arts teacher at the high school and middle school for 20 years. Christine has been a true advocate for her students and their families. She's passionate about supporting students in the classroom and in our community. This past year, she assumed the position of department coordinator. And under her leadership, the ELD team has fully revised a program guide to better communicate with what the department does. And she has participated in a series of training opportunities for the high school faculty to improve access for our students. Christine also worked this year to create an engaging family night for our EL families, expanding the evening's offerings to include technology support for parents and broader participation of the faculty and staff across the district in celebrating our students and their families. Christine will be missed for her terrific sense of humor and for her caring spirit. I didn't mention it here in my typed remarks, but last year, I believe 100% of her students passed 100% of their classes. And some of those families had some real struggle. And perhaps most importantly, I see she's wearing her new cool red retirement earrings. So Christine, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to say that when I talk about Springfield, I always describe it as a private public school because we have the most caring faculty and staff and administrators, and we have the best kids in the world. So I really have felt so incredibly honored to be a part of the Springfield community. And I too am going to miss the children terribly. I'm definitely not going to cry, but also my colleagues who have been there for me through everything. And it's going to be really hard to say goodbye to everybody, but I've been teaching for 34 years. So I do think it's time to move on, but it really is a very, very special place. And you're all very special people. So thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Christine, we all wish you the very, very best. You wear your heart on your sleeve, but in a very good way, because everyone knows how much you really do care and how effortlessly you support every single one of the students. For those of you who don't know, ELD means English Language Development. So she works with the kids who have the impossible task of coming in, say at 10th grade, not speaking a word of English, from Guatemala or from Tanzania or wherever. And it's Christine's role to help those students acclimate themselves into a foreign culture, to meet new people, and to help them get along in the classroom. And a few years ago, when we more or less transferred the burden of working with these children from Christine and her intensive work with those children in a separate classroom, we transferred that burden to the staff. And we said, you know what, you have some responsibility here to help these kids in your own content areas. And Christine is going to help you learn those strategies. That was a really challenging move for Christine because she felt like she was giving up her babies. But of course, instead, you became this tremendous mentor and coach and assist to the teachers with whom you work. You showed them how to do it, and you made them feel well supported in the manner in which they were instructing these kids. So Christine, thank you so much for all of your efforts and for your attendance as well at so many of the kids' events and clubs and activities. I know they always appreciated seeing you there.
Thank you so much.
So if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's it. I hope I haven't left anyone out. I want to thank our principals and Craig Thorn and Nate Bray for your very kind words about each one of our retirees. I know it takes some time, but if we can't honor these folks who have given so much of their lives to our students and their families and who've become treasured colleagues of other staff members, then what's it all about? This is truly what it is all about. You are the people that have made our district so special, that have us revered truly within the county. And there are many students for each one of you whose lives you have touched, who will never forget you, who 20 years from now, 30 years from now, if somebody ever asks them, who do you remember? They will mention at least one, if not more, of you. So my sincere thanks to all of you. It's been a pleasure working with each one of you, and we're all going to have that drink one day after December. Thanks, everyone. And if you're interested, you're welcome to stay for the rest of our board meeting. But if not, it looks like some of you have more interesting stuff in your backyards than what we've got going on here. So enjoy, everybody.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Taratusky, I'm just doing a sound check. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Good.
Okay, good. All right.
That was an awesome set of honorees. That was really cool.
I know. Yep. Can't keep a dry eye. All right, let's move on to reports of committees. Property Committee, Gretchen Slapinski.
Hello. So we had a Zoom meeting, Property Committee, on Wednesday, June 3rd at 8 a.m. Our first topic on our agenda was the Enfield project. We saw a revised plan that was coming out of the Planning Commission meeting. We discussed some minor updates and revisions based on that meeting. And also, we discussed potentially postponing the raising of the Enfield building. We determined that our timeline to raise that building in time to have fields in the spring was already passed. And given the state of the affairs of trying to get back to school and having the kids at a safe distance, we decided that it would be beneficial to keep that building intact as we try to plan for returning in the fall at this point in case we should need that building. And Nancy, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thank you, Gretchen. As a matter of fact, I was going to talk a little bit about the work that we are doing to try to plan for the reopening. So I actually had a conversation with one of our administrators yesterday discussing exactly that, the potential for using Enfield to house some of our students because of the need for social distancing, as we're all trying to craft a health and safety plan that incorporates social distancing and other measures that we will obviously want to and have to put into place in order to assure the safety of our students. We're beginning to think of where students will go. And the most crowded building that we happen to have right now is the middle school. So I can share with you that Mr. Fuller and I have actually talked about the fact of perhaps, and again, this is perhaps, nothing is decided at this point, but perhaps utilizing Enfield in order to be able to have at least one of the grades housed as, for example, a 6th grade learning center. And that would alleviate some of the space issues in a tight middle school. So if we have to spread students out throughout the building, we'll be in a better position to do that. So again, nothing is definite at this point, But I think we all felt at this point, as you mentioned, that we're a little bit beyond the stage for worrying about softball. We don't know the course of the pandemic as we get into the fall. Obviously, we're all concerned about whether or not there could be the potential for having to shut down again once we do open in the fall. And so if that's the case, we may not be using the fields after all, and we feel that we can put that building to good use. So I think it was a wise decision at this point to be able to postpone what we're doing with Enfield, to hold on to it in the event that we do in fact need it.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda was we did decide that we are going to add the district mission statement to the dedication plaque at the new Enfield School. We also got an update on the high school and the new Enfield projects. The high school is finishing up the punch list. That should be finished soon. And we actually had some very good news. The Enfield School is still scheduled for substantial completion on July 15th. Furniture install and moving in teachers to start July 20th. So that building is looking great and we're forging ahead. So a little bit of good news for everybody. We got an update on Suburb projects. You'll see on the agenda this evening that we are just declining bids for a bus garage roof and seal coating of parking lots at the middle school in Erdenheim. Due to budget concerns, the bids came in above estimates, so we are not accepting them. There's some upgrades going on in the middle school cafeteria, and also the existing gym floor at the high school is being sanded and refinished. We also discussed public use of the school grounds after we went yellow. So we did go yellow. We decided that, it is for public use, but we have put out guidelines that the COVID guidelines from the CDC must be followed by anyone participating in outdoor activities. So some of the fields and I think the tennis courts are open for public use, but we're really asking people to maintain social distancing and to stay safe on the building, on the grounds. So thank you. And that's all. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Gretchen. Can we have the Finance Committee report? Jeff Bedard.
Hey, hi. Like no other time, our Property Committee and Finance Committee discussions are beginning to overlap as we think about the financial impacts of coronavirus on the school operations. We had a Finance Committee meeting on June 11th. That was last Thursday. This was a spirited, I would say complex, but ultimately very collaborative discussion that went on for 1 hour and 46 minutes. Attendees included Mr. Lapidus, Mr. DeFranco, myself, Dr. Hacker, and the business administrative team, Mr. King and Ms. Braun. Major topic you're going to hear more about tonight. Dr. Hacker is going to be presenting the overall budget approach for 2020 and 2021. We reviewed the changes from the original proposed budget to the final proposed budget and what those changes entailed. Most notably was the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the potential costs, but also the revenue side of the school budget. On the revenue side, there are grants that will be made available, but we anticipate that the offsetting costs will be equal to or potentially even greater than those grants. So that's an area that we paid a lot of attention to. Mr. King presented different taxing scenarios that would allow us to even increase taxes to the state index of 2.6%. But after a lot of discussion, the Finance Committee is recommending, and Dr. Hacker will be presenting tonight, a recommendation to stay at our goal of just a 2.25% tax increase for taxpayers in the township, which is below the state authorized increase. And we think during this time frame where all of our community members are being impacted by coronavirus, it was not necessarily the time to raise taxes even more, recognizing that this will have long-term implications, and we'll discuss that ongoing as a Finance Committee. We'll see the motion tonight and be voting on the final budget. We also discussed fund balances and what those projections and assignments would be, and authorize those moving forward. And then really importantly, we discussed changes that are one-time changes for real estate tax payment periods, again, associated with the impacts of coronavirus on our community members. We agreed that we would approve a change in the time frame for receiving a discount if you are to pay your taxes early. And we also increased the time frame that you could pay at face value of your taxes before receiving a penalty for late payment. Would you like me to review those timeframes now as part of the?
I actually have them in my presentation, Jeff. I have a slide so everyone will be able to see them.
Great. Dr. Hacker will review those in just a moment. And then we did authorize further the waiving of any penalties for taxpayers who would want to pay on an installment basis, noting that we're aligning any penalty if payments are made after December 15th, just to make sure those payments get in before the end of the year. And no changes to the installment due dates if taxpayer chooses to do that. Those motions will also be on tonight's agenda. There were no public comments, and we did have a short executive session reviewing an appeal, a tax appeal settlement, and the stipulation was discussed, recommended, and we approved, and that will be on, excuse me, we approved the recommendation that will be on tonight's agenda as well. And just informationally, beginning in 2021, we will no longer have a shared service agreement with Upper Dublin School District. This is really a non-material impact to the budget. We were sharing some fuel costs and like, and that will be no longer in effect. We adjourned at 10:01, and it was a pleasure working with my team members on the board and administration.
Thanks, Mr. Bernard. Appreciate that. Administrative reports. And first will be the presentation of the proposed final budget for 2021. Dr. Hacker.
Dr. Tarachevsky, did you want to go before me?
I can do that, actually.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. We also have an update on the search for superintendent for Dr. Hacker's replacement as she moves to retirement with all of our fellow teachers. The board met back in April. Actually, we started to meet in March to discuss the process. We had considered several consultants to assist us in the process, and we selected the MCIU to work with us through that. We met with the consultants from MCIU back in early April to plan the process to hire the new superintendent. And the board asked the MCIU to conduct a community survey and staff focus group meetings to identify characteristics desired in the next superintendent. The survey included responses from 498 community members. 3 focus group meetings were also held with staff. 13 participated on the elementary call, 11 with the administrators, and 7 on the secondary call. And the results of the survey and the focus groups were shared with the board on May 21st. We had 29 candidates submit applications for the opening of superintendent, and the board met to conduct a paper screening of all the applicants using the results of the survey and focus groups for guidance. And from that group, we identified 6 candidates for our first round interviews with a large district committee that involved administrators and staff from all across the district and teachers from all buildings. After the first round, the board identified 3 semifinalists to bring back for a second round presentation and interview. And we will be announcing very shortly our selection for superintendent. I would also like to share with you the results of the community survey. And I'm going to do that. Okay. All right. So from the survey, as I had stated, there were 498 responses, which according to the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit consultants was a very high response to a survey like this. I know that it's a small response considering the size of our community, but it's a rather large response to this type of a survey. So we were very pleased with that. As you can see, parents were the largest participants in the survey, and other participants were also students, faculty, some non-resident or district resident non-parents, administrators, and support staff. We looked at several different categories of qualities that we wanted to see in our next superintendent, and we asked for comments from the community. These are some of the comments that folks had that capture the kinds of characteristics that we were hoping to see. We were looking at a commitment to equitable practices, equitable and inclusive practices, certainly attention to academics and curriculum. We wanted a competent and dedicated staff member, someone who has respect for relationships in the community, a sense of our community, looking at our programming for increasingly diverse population, pulling together our initiatives and implementing those across the district and over time, looking at our enrollment and facilities, fiscal management, and of course, change and facilitating that in a way that is beneficial for the district. And from the responses, the qualities that the respondents felt were most important, and these were things that the committee looked at, were capacity to lead and motivate employees, capacity to communicate effectively with the community and amongst the staff and members of the school community, and a commitment to educational equity. Of course, all of these qualities are important in a leader, and but we wanted to focus on the ones that seemed most prevalent. We also looked for a leader who we felt would act with integrity, was a decisive, calm, and objective problem solver, someone who is accessible, approachable, and visible, and would foster, of course, a positive professional environment. Those things we know exist in our district currently. We value those greatly, and we really want to continue those qualities as we move forward. And the board really has worked hard to develop a culture of trust, respect, and transparency within the district, and we feel that we want that certainly to continue. We would like our superintendent also to be effective in communicating with board, faculty, staff, parents, and our community. So those were the results. They will be posted on our website for you to review more closely. And these were the driving factors in the selection of our next superintendent. As I said, we will be announcing that shortly through a public announcement and forthcoming appointment. Thank you.
I'd like to note this also reads as if it's a description of our current superintendent. Who has demonstrated these qualities in my time on the board.
Thank you so much. That's very kind. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Hacker, and to you for the budget and then school year achievements and accomplishments.
Thank you. And just a couple of announcements, as Gretchen Slipinski mentioned with discussion around Enfield. We are working very actively. Each of our principals is taking a very hard look at the conditions under which we hope to be able to open schools in September. We will be conducting focus groups by grade level bands so that we can hear from community members about what are their concerns when we open school and what is it that they would like to see. We do have certain guidelines that have come down to us, not only from the Pennsylvania Department of Education, but more importantly, we will be following CDC guidelines as well as guidelines from the county in terms of putting safety and health measures into place to try to assure as best we can. We know that we cannot 100% guarantee safety of any individual, staff member, or student in any of our schools, but we will do the very best that we can. And as you will hear a little bit later on, we're going to have to really devote considerable expense, obviously, to some PPE and perhaps other measures in order to help keep students safe. So it will be costly, but no cost is too high in terms of trying to put into place the protections that we believe we need to put into place in order to help keep children safe. So we will be doing that and talking about that, as I said, within the next couple of weeks. We anticipate probably sometime around the beginning of July, maybe the first or second week, we will be announcing a particular plan that, pending no changes throughout the summer, we hope to put into effect for September. I also just quickly want to announce that on Thursday evening, I'm very excited about our next Equitable Practices Committee meeting. We have a wonderful group of panelists, 3 of whom are parents in our district. They are Keisha Bronson, a past president of our EEHSP, Brittany Bronson, who is also a parent and step-parent in the district, Dr. Jim Etlin, who is one of the co-chairs of our Multicultural Parents Association. And of course, our board has worked very closely with Dr. Bob Jarvis on our equity retreat and on the crafting of an equity statement for the board. And so each of them is going to answer questions based on their role and their perspectives in terms of the work that they do, both personally and professionally, helping us to think about ways that we can continue to work towards striving for racial equality in our district and combating racial injustice. So it should be a very interesting discussion, and we will open it up to questions and more discussion from audience members after the panelists have an opportunity to respond to questions. That's at 6:30. I've asked each of the principals to send out an invitation to that. It starts off as a webinar, but as I said, we will open it up for questions and discussion after the panelists have had an opportunity to speak. So I'm very, very anxious and looking forward to what I think is going to be the start of some very, very interesting conversations that we need to have in our district. I also want to briefly, before I do the budget presentation, go through a list of pretty significant accomplishments. And this is really a credit to not only all of the teachers, many of whom you heard from this evening, but also certainly our administrators. Despite a very challenging year in a number of respects, we were able to get through quite a bit. So I'm going to read through these pretty quickly, but it's a pretty incredible list. So let me start off talking about what Gretchen already mentioned, which is the anticipated opening that we're all looking forward to of our brand new elementary school. It's absolutely stunning. Craig Thorn was kind enough to take me through the building, and it is really coming along, and we hope that once we have the building turned over, we're going to be able to get people in there, including board members, for a tour of the building. It is just a crown jewel in terms of our district, and you all in particular should be very, very proud of your efforts in helping to make this dream come to fruition. And of course, our high school construction project, you've all probably been through the high school. You've seen the facilities that we have, our wonderful TV studio, fitness center, our fabulous gym, our Hall of Fame lobby and entrance. All the different components of our new building are absolutely spectacular. In order to get to this point, of course, particularly with Enfield, we had to make some decisions. As you heard, we're postponing that, but nonetheless, we had various community meetings, which were very well attended over the course of the year, that enabled us to make some really great decisions about the use of the fields on that property, along with administrative input into our athletic needs. And I just want to commend all of the board members, because you all were extraordinarily mindful of the input that you received from the community at those meetings. And we reimagined the purposing of those fields to not just serve the athletic needs, but to also be a sanctuary for individuals in the township who want to walk along a walking path, who want to attend outdoor concerts, who want to use the area on weekends for other pursuits. So I thank the board for having the foresight to incorporate all those aspects into the plans for those fields. And they will happen after this crazy year to come in terms of the needs that we may have. There will come a time when we will be able to use those fields as intended and that site as intended for the community. We successfully concluded in record-breaking time an STEA contract. So for the next 3 years, we can be assured of having labor peace with our Professional Teachers Association. I again want to commend Emily Kerr and Ken King, as well as Kristen Ward and her team for their work on negotiating that contract, and most specifically for the incredible work that Emily did in terms of helping us to negotiate better health care benefits for our staff that have actually resulted in really significant savings. So I think she deserves a world of credit for the expertise she brought to that process, which enabled us to effect those changes. As far as curriculum is concerned and professional development, we have many new courses that are slated to open up: high school and middle school physics, a re-examination of global studies and cultures in the 6th grade to lead into a study of foreign languages, African American studies, instruments of rock. So we're excited about not only the new courses we have slated, but of course, the continuing work on the integration of social justice standards into all of our curricular work. In terms of professional development, we continued our work with Jean Stanley and sociocultural identities. We were presenters. We were one of the districts that did a presentation at the Promising Practices event held by the DVCEE at the University of Pennsylvania, in which over 100 school districts were in attendance. We partnered with Dr. Crystal Lucky from Villanova University, who worked on cultural diversity and proficiency in terms of our ELA curriculum with our high school students. So we really did a lot of work in professional development, even though some of the activities that we would have done towards the end of the year obviously had to be canceled. The board is to be commended for developing its equity statement after last spring's equity retreat. I applaud you for your commitment. We held several meetings of the Equitable Practices Group this year, and I want to highlight the many students who attended, who talked about their experiences in Voices of Excellence and the Spartan Culture Club, where many of them have served on leadership teams that have gone to other schools and spoken about many of the challenges relating to racial equity and also to diversity. We began a thorough investigation into the issue of starting school start times later. We hosted Wendy Troxel for several of our neighboring school districts. We conducted several meetings with faculty members to discuss the topic of how teenagers biologically need more sleep. We did surveys of our students, our families, and our staff members in order to solicit their responses and reactions and thoughts about what would it mean to actually change the schedule and start secondary school later so that our teens can get more sleep. We had a new cohort in project-based learning that traveled out to San Diego and was trained. We had trainers from San Diego and High Tech High come in the summer at the end of August. We participated in several days of training. As a result, we had some really, really tremendous and phenomenal projects this year that were developed by our cohort members, including the cost of war with Patrick Kelly and his group in the middle school, several Shark Tank expositions. We did some ELA projects as well as chemistry at the high school. So I'm really proud of how PBL has taken off, and hopefully we'll continue to expand that cohort where many of the original members of the first cohort that went out have served as mentors to the new ones coming in. We had our second Hall of Fame recognition. It was a phenomenal ceremony in December where we recognized past alumni who have contributed solidly to the fabric of Springfield Township High School. We've had continued and sustained meetings of our Education Foundation, which is slightly over a year old, but in that one 15-month period of time, we've raised over $30,000 in contributions. We made our first purchase of Z-Space virtual reality augmented technology for the science department in the high school. So we're going to be having several laptops that are delivered into the high school along with 150 pairs of goggles. They're actually not goggles, they look like my glasses that students can wear and can see inside of things for a virtual reality experience in anatomy, physical science, and biology. So kudos to the teachers who explored the Z-Space technology and determined that they felt it was something that they really could benefit from having at the high school. And thanks to all of the individuals who've made incredible donations, especially those in honor of our staff members and administrators this year to our Education Foundation. And we do have a Springfield Township EF.org website in case anyone would like to contribute before the year is over. Our middle school was recognized in the Schools to Watch program as a Pennsylvania Keystone School and received a certificate of commendation. Mr. Fuller and Mr. Payne presented about the middle school at the Pennsylvania Association of Middle Level Education Conference this year and highlighted some of the many wonderful things, including our Spartan Block, which is going on at the middle school. The middle school was actually one of our very top state performers in mathematics, both in achievement and in growth, performed at the very top in the entire state of Pennsylvania. So that's pretty significant. Congratulations to the middle school. For the 7th year in a row, we achieved National Association of Music Merchants recognition for being one of the top music education schools nationally. Again, our high school was voted as one of the top 100 best high schools in the state of Pennsylvania, academically as well as for other activities. So we're very proud of that recognition as well. And again, was voted one of the most challenging in the United States by the esteemed Washington Post. We will have a new website and a new online registration system that our technology department has been working on, along with upgrades to various other platforms that we are using. But most importantly, of all, I really want to commend our staff and our administration for the incredible job they did during the pandemic. We deployed over 500 iPads and Chromebooks so that every single student in our district had access to the internet or a mobile hotspot and had a device to use to do their work at home. We fed thousands and thousands of families during the period of school closure, led significantly by the efforts of Lauren Davis and her team. And I want to commend my administrative assistants, Heidi Fallon and Luann McKenna, who participated every single week in helping to deliver food to the residents of Springfield Township. We held virtual 5th grade and 8th grade celebrations, as well as pretty amazing car parades to honor our students. We had a fantastic graduation ceremony for our seniors. We recognized and listened to the input that we received from students and their families, and we ended up having a beautiful ceremony that was recorded in the stadium. Senior biographies are on our website. We had a virtual senior athletic signing ceremony. We had a virtual Voices of Excellence banquet, which was amazing. We put out parent, staff, and student surveys about the virtual learning experience through our Thought Exchange platform, and those, by the way, are due by this Friday. And we will have, as I mentioned, focus groups to begin discussing September. So I just want to read, as you can well imagine, I've gotten a lot of feedback from many of our parents and residents about our response to the shutdown and the work that we've been doing. And I will tell you that I don't look at Facebook, I don't look at Instagram, I only look at what comes to me directly. And I will tell you that the lion's share of what I have received has been extraordinarily positive and appreciative of the efforts that teachers have made. And through the surveys that we have issued, we have asked, what are the concerns that you've had? What are the challenges you've encountered? And we will take that feedback to heart so that in the event that we do have to shut down again, and we certainly hope that won't happen, we will be better primed and better prepared to handle virtual instruction and to improve that learning experience. But this is one parent email that I just received yesterday that I'd like to share, and this is a portion of it. I would be remiss to not share my feelings on the district's wide-ranging response to the pandemic. I have 3 children, 2 of whom are students in SDST. I'm aware that what I've witnessed is only the tip of the iceberg, but from my vantage point, on a moment's notice, our schools have had to migrate an entire curriculum from hands-on to remote-based. In record time, technology was distributed and plans were developed. We were fortunate that food insecurity is not a concern for our family, but I saw firsthand, and I know the incredible needs that were met in that regard as well by our school district. Communication was clear and responsive to evolving information and needs. We have felt well informed and well equipped to meet the challenges of educating our children through these challenging times. While this time has not been easy, the care and dedication of the teaching staff and administration has truly been a beacon. So from our family to your staff and administration, thank you all for rising to this formidable challenge. So that was just one of the many lovely emails that we have received during this period of time. So those are some of the major challenges and accomplishments that I feel we all deserve to take a moment to think about and to recognize, and especially, as I said before, the hard work of our incredible staff and administration. So with that, I will turn to the always wonderful budget presentation. And I'm not sure this is quite as enjoyable, but I'll try to go through it in a quick and understandable way. So as I know you all are very well aware, this consumes a huge amount of time for us at this point in the year. And as I know you understand from the preliminary budget presentation that I always do in January, we start this process early on in the year. And when we started it this year, of course, we had no idea that this year was going to be so significantly different as a result of COVID-19. And even in January, when we were projecting that we would bring the budget down from the levels that it was in January, while we knew we had to make significant cuts, we didn't know that we were going to be facing a real financial crisis as well. So of course, when we build the budget, we always have to take these major considerations into place. Academic programming, and of course, technology, in particular during a pandemic and during the times of a pandemic, is really critical to the work that we are doing. We also have to balance the incredible mental health needs of our students. And I will tell you that even during the period of school closure, many of our guidance counselors, support staff members, social workers, behavioral analysts, special education personnel were all thoroughly invested in attending to those needs for our students. We want to continue to be able to offer a full range of extracurricular pursuits. As you know, we have a tremendous fine arts, vocal and visual arts program for students. We have wonderful plays. We have a tremendous music program, an amazing athletic program, and a number of other smaller and yet equally valuable clubs, the Anime Club, the Spartan Culture Club, Voices of Excellence. These are all critical needs for many of our students that we want to continue to meet. Obviously, the maintenance of our facilities, keeping them safe, secure, and updated is a critical need as well. And then, of course, none of this would be important if we didn't make a commitment to try to locate, recruit, and hire an outstanding staff in order to be able to work with our students. So that's the fundamental underpinning of everything that we have to take into consideration when we build the budget. So we have to obviously also take into consideration what are our needs and priorities? How do we define what a priority is? How do we figure out what a need is? And we balance that always against the concerns that our taxpayers may have about funding and how is it going to impact them. So we always are trying to balance those out. We have three primary sources of revenue, and here I have for you the contributions in our district of each of those sources. And as you can see, 79% of our revenue into the school district comes from local revenue from taxes, primarily taxes, whether it's earned income tax, property taxes, and so forth. There's some money in there from interest and so forth, but primarily it's from property taxes. As you can see, a very small percentage, about 20% comes from the state, and that might include transportation, special education, our basic education subsidy, and then a very minor percent comes from the federal government. So the lion's share of the responsibility for funding virtually everything we do, 4/5 of the budget, has to come locally. And this is where those sources of revenue come from. As you can see down here, I've listed for you the primary sources of revenue. And when you look at it as a visual, it's very easy to see because this $41 million number is actually local real estate taxes. So you can see these very small pieces of the pie when you're talking about what those numbers represent. Public utility realty, real estate transfer taxes, delinquent taxes and money owed, earned income tax. It pales in comparison to what residents have to pay in order to fund our schools. So that 41, nearly $42 million number is fairly significant out of the total piece of the pie. So in the midst of a pandemic, we have had some major issues about preparing for a budget. Normally during the year, we can anticipate approximately a 97.5% to 98% collection rate on real estate taxes. But unfortunately, in going back to the recession that occurred in 2008 with the economic downturn due to the stock market crashing, our collection rate dropped to about 95%. So when we look at the impact of that and try to project out how will our revenues be impacted during this significant period of economic downturn, what can we imagine that impact is going to have? And what we are finding is that the economic conditions that were similar to 2008, severe unemployment, an inability to pay real estate or other kinds of taxes, more appeals on the value of homes and particularly businesses, delinquent tax payments, a decline in the interest that we can collect because our revenue intake is down. Home sales are down, which means that transfer taxes will be down. Our earned income tax, we have no idea what that's going to be because we don't know what earnings are going to be like other than to anticipate that they are going to decline. We also have a potential as the result of the pandemic for significant expenses that at this point, it's very challenging to try to even begin to imagine. Busing, if we want to maintain social distancing on our buses and only have, for example, 1 or 2 children per seat, then will we need additional runs? Will we have to hire additional bus drivers in order to be able to drive additional runs to get children to school? We don't know at this point. how many more buses we might need. That could end up costing millions of dollars in order to be able to provide additional buses and bus drivers to drive them in order to be able to spread out children riders on our buses, especially at the middle school and high school levels where children are larger and where we don't want to put them within a couple feet of one another. That's still unknown. We don't know the impact of that at this point. And we may actually have to get to the point where we survey families and say, do you think it will be possible for you to either bring your student to school, have your student walk, or go in someone else's car so that we can spread students out more easily in the buses? We know that we're going to need a significant amount of personal protective equipment, whether it's masks, having them on hand, sanitizing wipes, gloves, shields, curtains, and so forth. All of those various kinds of supplies and materials, which we never have had to have before in the quantities that we will need. We have to somehow come up with some kind of a guesstimate as to what is that going to look like. And if we need those kinds of supplies over the course of an entire year, excuse me, in every single school building, for staff and for students, temperature taking devices, what will that look like in terms of the impact on our budget? We anticipate legal expenses could rise. We know that during the period of school closures, while we've tried our best to meet the needs of many of our students, in particular our special education needs, many of those needs are typically met in person. And many of the services that students receive as a special education entitlement can't be delivered virtually in the same way that they can be in person. We don't know if that will result in claims for compensatory education as the fall comes in. So we're taking a careful eye as to our legal expenses. Again, as you're all well aware, with assessment appeals, and you know we have a stipulation to settle that is on the board agenda for tonight. We also have concerns about some of those appeals. If there is a decline in real estate value as the result of the pandemic, or people want to challenge their assessments in order to have to pay less, we always have to employ legal services in order to help us deal with those kinds of appeals. We don't want to see charter school enrollments. We don't have huge charter school enrollments, but we envision that some parents, rather than wanting to send their children back into a brick and mortar environment in the midst of a pandemic, may not want to send their children back to school if we open up in the fall. And so they may be looking to other schools, including charter schools. And keep in mind, even though the ads for charter schools claim that they are tuition free, they are not. They're only tuition free to the families that enroll in them. The school district, and therefore the taxpayers, pay for the enrollments in charter schools. So I always like to point that out, that they are not free at all. It costs every single one of you money when we have children enroll in the charter schools. And then finally, during this period of school closure, the state legislature determined that all staff was going to continue to be made whole and held harmless in terms of their salaries. So even though the lion's share of our staff members were still working every single day, we obviously did not have buses running, and so bus drivers were not driving their routes. Not all of our food service employees were working to help prepare food for residents and families. So we still were obligated to pay those folks during the period of closure. We did not have a full season of spring sports, and yet we were obligated to pay coaches. We don't know what the legislature will do if we have another period of school closures in the fall. So we have to be prepared for the possibility we will still be paying those salaries as well. So what we anticipate, looking and fine-tuning the numbers and trying to craft out all of the issues that I just described, is that we could have potentially close to a $2 million impact that will affect us to the negative between what it would normally bring in terms of revenue and what we can anticipate in terms of the revenue that will be coming in. It's actually a $1.8 million decrease in the amount of revenue that we can anticipate. So we have to figure that when we build this budget. We have made a number of efforts to decrease expenses. Obviously, with our early retirement incentive program, we achieved a savings of approximately $580,000 because of the delta between our retiring staff members and those that we hired to take their places. We also cut certain new positions that had been requested. We have other new positions in the budget, but we did cut some, savings of about $120,000 as the result of those cuts. We went back to our departments and our buildings and we looked for savings in their budgets as well, and we achieved a $485,000 set of savings from cuts in those budgets, significantly in the areas of special education, curriculum and instruction, and technology. And part of the reason for that is because we believe in this period of social distancing, we will be cutting back significantly on things like professional development workshops for staff out of the district. We'll be cutting back on things like field trips for students. And a lot of the technology that we may need to purchase, hopefully we will have new grant funding that we can use in order to offset the PPE and technology needs that we have. We also, as many of you are aware, each year we have a set aside for new school buses in the budget. We actually have removed that so that this year we could put that back in order to offset the significant expenses that we have. So our final numbers, and this actually was amended today, so I apologize, there's a slight correction in this slide. We finally came in with a 2.26% recommended tax increase with anticipated expenditures slightly higher by a little bit over $3.2 million from what our anticipated revenue is going to be. The majority of that is going to have to come from our fund balance. We are fortunate that over the years we've built up a very healthy fund balance so that we are able to take what we need in order to meet our budget from fund balance. So I want to show you that impact. And again, one of these numbers is slightly off. This estimated remaining fund balance, the last three numbers should be 364 and not 262. But our current estimated fund balance is slated to be approximately a little over $25 million. The figure that I just showed you that we will take from fund balance in order to help us balance our budget, that 3.2, nearly $3.3 million, will leave us with an estimated remaining fund balance of about $21.8 million. We also anticipate we'll have some money coming from surplus this year as we roll over from remaining funds in this current year budget as the result of certain expenditures we didn't have to make because we were closed. That money will roll over into fund balance. Mr. Bedard mentioned assistance for the pay period extensions. In the first column here, I have our typical pay periods. So in other words, those individuals who would like to get a 2% discount on the amount of taxes that they pay, typically if they pay during the period between July 1 and August 31st, that 2% is applied. It's generally around 83% of individuals who go for that 2% reduction. We have extended the discount period now until September 30th. Many of the taxpayers, about 11%, pay during the normal pay period without getting that discount. That's generally from September 1 to October 31st. We've extended that now all the way through until December 15th. Again, we are trying to be mindful of the fact that we don't know if people are out of work and will be going back to work in the fall. And so we're trying to be mindful and work with our community in order to help them through this particular period of time in terms of paying their taxes without any penalty. And therefore, as you see in the last portion of the slide, there is a penalty of 10% that we impose when individuals pay their taxes late. And we have decided now to only have a very short window of time during which we will impose that 10% penalty. And that's a 2-week period from December 16th until December 31st. We do need to get taxes in by law before December 31st. That's important for the bookkeeping that needs to take place. Fortunately, up until now, generally only 4% of taxpayers do have to pay a penalty, but we wanted to reduce that period of time out of our being very much aware of the fact that people are going to have a harder time now. And then finally, in this slide, we have our tax averages over the past several years, just to show you what the increases have been during the past several years, during which Mr. King and myself have prepared the budget. We have generally always come in either at or below index. You can see the average of 2.1%, which is approximate, not including this current year, which is 2.26%. So you can see that we are kind of hovering around that same tax increase. Why a tax increase? If you remember my analogy from when we did the preliminary budget presentation, it's very important to build mills into the budget, because as expenses do increase from year to year, it's just like if your salary doesn't increase, it becomes harder and harder for you to continue to pay your increasing expenses. What helps you as your expenses as a household owner increase over time is if you get increases in your salary to help offset those increases in expenses. That is true with the school district budget as well. Even though the numbers are bigger, the principle is exactly the same. Our expenses increase over time. We do what is called build-in mills, which means we build in the amount of revenue that we collect, even if it's only by 2% or so each year in terms of a tax increase, in order to help us meet those increasing expenses each year. So that's why we go for a tax increase, but yet we try to keep one that is relatively balanced compared to what we've done over time. And then finally, this is really what it looks like in terms of what that impact is going to be for homeowners who have the average assessed home value within our community. That monthly tax increase, again, on the average assessed home value, some people will pay more than this, some people will pay less, is a little bit under $10 a month, which amounts to approximately $115 per year for the tax increase. So I hope that gives you an idea of the significant difference and my focus on trying to help everyone understand the impact of COVID. There are a number of unknowns, but what we do know with a high degree of certainty is that homeowners are going to have some significant impact as the result of this, and it will surely impact the revenues that we can collect, and therefore a greater reliance on fund balance in order for us to meet the growing needs of the district, regardless of how careful we are trying to be with what our expenditures are. Does anybody have any questions? All right, I thank you for that.
Thank you. That was comprehensive.
And thank you very much. And again, I just want to thank Ken in particular. He really is the numbers guy. He spends all day, every day, doing nothing else but looking at the numbers in the spreadsheets. And he does an incredible job. And we really all owe him a huge debt of thanks for crunching the numbers in such a specified and detailed manner.
Well, I thank you for that. And I'm always amazed how you can put in a few slides what it takes hundreds of rows and columns of multiple spreadsheets to arrive at. I do thank you for those words, but we always do have to remember the contribution that the administrators and the principals make to make this happen, with how they manage their staff needs, and their particular budgets. But most importantly, it's the entire staff that has to live with some of the decisions that we make. They have to bob and weave and adapt to do what they still need to do with the resources that we are able to provide them on an annual basis. So it's really entirely a community effort, along with the board and the finance committee. So I just want to thank all of them as well. And that now, hopefully, the budget will pass and there'll be a new set of numbers to start.
And I just want to follow up on that with one word, and that is, I am sure, and several of our building principals are participating this evening, they will all, since they're so sick and tired of hearing me tell them, you have to cut, cut, cut. You have to hire people who are not making a lot of money. They're so sick and tired of hearing me say that they will be very happy to see me retire, so they don't have to listen to that next year.
I don't believe that. Okay, so can everybody hear me okay? Because I had to switch devices. I'm sorry. All right, so I actually just wanted to, before we move on, one thing that I had forgotten to say when I was talking about the community survey and the superintendent search update was I wanted to express my thanks to Dr. Bradley Landis and Dr. Donna Gaffney for their support and their guidance throughout the process. They work with the MCIU team, and also to our own Emily Kerr, who did help and support us through and coordinating with the MCIU. So thank you. Let's move to new business personnel. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment: certificated personnel, support personnel, extended school year program personnel, and extra pay for extra responsibilities. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
You're on mute, Mr. King.
Dr. Hacker's favorite button. The motion has been read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2, lead soil removal proposals, Old Enfield. Recommended motion: the Board of School Directors approves the attached proposal from ACV Environmental Services for the lead in soils removal project at the Old Enfield Elementary School in the estimate amount of $7,810 as recommended by the district's consultant, Environmental Control Systems, Inc. All costs to be paid from the district's bond fund. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Motion read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 3, approval of the 2020-2021 final budget. The Board of School Directors approves the attached budget resolution for the following 2020-2021 budget items. Number 1, a 2020-2021 school year expenditure budget in the amount of $61,938,116, requiring a tax rate of 34.0 0.4687 mils, representing an increase of 0.7585 mils, or an increase of 2.26% over the current tax rate. And number 2, the resolution for the Homestead Farmstead exclusion as required by the Special Session Act 1 of 2006, order taxpayers to receive taxpayer relief funds. 5,326 households will receive a reduction in the amount of $352.30 from their tax bills. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Motion.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who made the motion.
Mr. Bedard?
Okay, who's
Walter?
second?
Okay.
That was
I'll
Walter.
let Jeff go. It's fine.
Did Jeff second?
No, I had a technical glitch. So I'm not sure who.
I seconded.
Okay.
How about Jeff can make the motion?
I'll take
I'll
whoever
just
made it. Walter, that's fine.
Okay.
And Mr. DeFranco? Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Motion has been read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Thanks. Number 4, changes to the 2021 real estate tax payments. The Board of School Directors approves the attached resolution changing the start and end dates for the discount, face, and penalty payments for the collection of real estate taxes, and the altering the 10% penalty on installment payments to only apply as of December 15th. All of the above at the recommendation of the Finance Committee. These changes are only effective for the 2020-2021 school year. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Motion read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 5, real estate tax assessment. The Board of School Directors approves the attached stipulation to settle an assessment appeal for parcel numbers 52-00-05935-00-7, 52-00-11927-00-9, and 52-00-07714-10-9 as recommended by the Finance Committee. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
You could reread the parcel numbers. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay. All right, Mr. King?
Motion has been read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 6, custodial service. The Board of School Directors approves the 3-year contract renewal agreement with Interstate Maintenance to provide district-wide custodial services at a 1% increase per year at a total 3-year cost of $2,927. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that $2 million?
Yes, ma'am.
$2,927,163.12. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I do, just for historical clarification, we had changed vendors for custodial service in the past year. This would indicate that we feel as though they've not only satisfactorily filled the shoes of some of the challenges that we had seen in the past, but we're pretty happy with them. And I wanted to ask what the year-over-year change is for the first year in their contract coming off of what was the contract in place for this year, which I think is a partial year contract.
Craig, are you still on board with us? Craig Thorn?
Uh,
I am, Dr. Hacker.
Oh, okay. Craig, do you want to comment about what you've learned and working with Interstate, since you probably have the most interfacing with them?
Yeah, they've done an excellent job over the year. They actually started out at Erdenheim. We liked what we did there. Then they became, our custodial service for the entire district. Again, hands and just way better than our old company. This increase also accounts for the new school. The square footage is different. So the increase obviously is with the more square footage they'll be taken care of. But yeah, overall, the district, I think, is very pleased with the custodial staff.
That's great. One follow-up, just as we think about coronavirus impacts, if we are to make operational changes next year, I would assume that this vendor, Interstate Maintenance, is qualified, prepared, would have protocols in place for the types of cleaning services that would be required.
Yes, we've already had those discussions. They've actually had disinfected a lot of our areas over the last few months. One in particular was the middle school with the food distribution program. They were in there disinfecting all the time. We had all our buildings were polling places as well. So they came in, cleaned, disinfected, and as staff and students were coming into the calls in place for proper disinfection regularly about how to move forward for the start of the school year. So they're on board, they're fully ready, fully equipped. So I feel very confident with that.
Awesome. I feel very confident in your leadership, Mr. Thorne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Thorne. Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, Mr. King?
Motion read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 7, rejection of bids. The Board of School Directors approves the rejection of all bids for the following projects. Number 1, bus garage and administration building roof replacements. And number 2, Erdenheim and middle school parking lot maintenance. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Can I ask why the bids are being rejected at this time?
The numbers were considered to be too high.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I guess with the roof, is there anything wrong with the roofs? They're not leaking or at risk of leaking?
Yeah, currently, we did have a few leaks. The roof is definitely older. It's worn. We've repaired the leaks. More maintenance is being performed on it. If we see issues, we're addressing them very quickly. But there's no active leaks right now on the roof. It's something that we do have to consider. Again, the prices did come in high. This is the second time we bid the roof. But with the impact of the COVID situation on the budget, Mr. King and I thought it'd be best to put these projects, away for right now until we figure out the budget. We'll keep maintaining the roof as well as the parking lot coating. So I think we'll be over there.
Just out of curiosity, were the roofs bid out as a bundle or to different contractors individually, since they are different? I don't know, since they're different types of structures. Sometimes the roofers specialize, and I apologize for the question.
Yeah, no, it's a public bid process. So we've actually worked with our construction management firm with development specs. We call roofers that we know, reliable contractors, to come in and bid it. Last year when we bid it, it got out late in the bidding process. So I think the roofers had plenty of work on their plate. They may have bid things high. This year we got out on time, but I think the whole COVID situation just impacted all these bids. So
Craig, I think Mr. DeFranco was also asking, was the bus garage bid separately from the admin building roof, or were they both put out in the same bid?
One project, the bus garage, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. The bus garage was quite larger than the administration roof. It's just a small little foyer roof as soon as you enter the building. So the roofers are all familiar with both types of construction, but the administration roof was a very smaller part of the overall two projects.
I think the thinking was the smaller piece, while they're out dealing with this larger piece, larger roof in the bus garage, that while they're already deployed, we get a better price on the admin roof because it is just a smaller piece. But 2 times.
All right. Thank you much.
Third time's a charm. Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, Mr. King?
The motion has been read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion carries.
Number 8, water treatment service. The Board of School Directors approves the agreement with Pro Asys to provide district-wide water treatment services for the period of 1 year, effective 7/1/2020, for the annual sum of $4,700. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? What are we treating the water for?
This is just routine water analysis,
Okay.
just to check and make sure they do physical inventory checks so that chemicals can be added if necessary. They look at the water treatment equipment and so forth. So it's a routine service that occurs in the loops that we have that the water travels through and in the water boilers as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Mr. King?
Motion read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 9, security services. The Board of School Directors approves the agreement with Advanced Protection Company to provide security coverage for the 2020-2021 school year from 7/1/2020 through 6/30/2021 at the rate of $23 per hour per agent. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Motion read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Number 10, moving company. New Enfield. The Board of School Directors approves the agreement with L&J Transportation Companies, Inc. to provide moving services to the New Enfield Elementary School at the rates listed and the low base bid of $29,514, all costs to be paid from the district's bond fund. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Motion has been read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Sorry, just clicking back in. It's musical devices. Hold on one second.
Dr. Tartuski, you're on mute.
The Board of School Directors approves the contract with the MCIU for participation in the Virtual High School Consortium from July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
The motion has been read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 12, Sun Life Insurance Company. The Board of School Directors approves the application for group insurance with Sun Life Insurance Company to provide life insurance, short-term disability insurance, and long-term disability insurance for the district effective July 1, 2020. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Motion read and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Okay. Thank you. Future meeting dates. There will be an interim board meeting on Tuesday, August 4th, 2020 at 7 p.m. The place to be determined, and a regular board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 18th at 7 p.m. Also place to be determined. Please remember that there will be the Equitable Practices Committee on Thursday evening at 6:30. Is that correct, Dr. Hacker? Okay. And there will be a Zoom link available for that. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us this evening.
Yes.
Thank
Long
you to the
meeting.
board members. It's kind of a record-long board meeting, but that's okay. It makes up for the time that we haven't all spent together over the last couple of months. So,
How true that is.
and it's a wonderful occasion to see all of our teachers. So it was great. Thank you.
Everyone, for your
Thank you.
attention and for hanging in with us.
Yep. I apologize for any technical issues that I
No
may have had.
issues.
Okay. All right.
Good
Take
night,
care.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Good night.
Yeah, thank you.